Are you one of these people like Kyle who claims to have noticed that women in video games are being uglified or made rougher? Well, as we all know, that can't be. That's just some crazy conspiracy theory, in which has been constructed because he doesn't like the look of Ivan Drago in the new Rocky game. Oh, excuse me, that's Joanna Dark. Some have gone so far as to claim that the real-life face models look nothing like their in-game counterparts, in which that's just simply impossible. The woke tell us so. It's all in our heads. We've got porn-addled brains. And hey, if you want the in-game model to look like the actual model, you obviously just want to jerk off. It's all in your head. It's all made up. But at the same time, some game developers really need to stop letting teenage boys design their characters. Because, of course, there is no push to make female characters in games ugly, but at the same time, whenever they look attractive, something needs to be said. Oh, but silly me, that's conspiracy theory talk. There's no such thing as DEI. There is no push to make the women look like men so that way they can share assets and make the characters much cheaper. And if you do think that, obviously it's a symptom of not getting any pussy. A man's value is derived explicitly from how much pussy he slays. Oh, but what is this? Del Walker, a games artist that has worked with Naughty Dog, Rocksteady Games, and Respawn, had this to say. There's been a handful of times I've pitched black women characters that look like this. Then after 10 iterations, the concept or model comes back without a speck of the original beauty I pitched. He also said, I'm not talking about mild changes. I'm talking about pose, aura, style, softness, age, flair. I hate giving Gamergate men fuel, but it's very difficult to pitch beautiful or vain black women in games without them coming back like grocery store aunties. No, Del, you didn't hand Gamergate men fuel. You handed them a big fucking W. For a very long time, we've been screamed at that we just want to jerk off, because that's the only reason an attractive woman can exist is for masturbation. I think that says a lot more about woke people who think that than the guys who just like to see pretty girls in their video games. And I think it says a lot also that when proposing a character that looks like this, the games industry comes back with this. What's wrong with the character being attractive? Can't they be attractive? And so, what do we do now? We've been setting up this huge narrative that these chuds just suddenly invaded gaming and started demanding big tits everywhere. Because as we all know, the woke were always there. And video game characters were never sexy. It's us chuds that are the invader and just suddenly came in and started demanding thick thighs save lives. Well, the only thing that they can do is change the narrative. And of course, since the media backs them, they can change the narrative and we'll get backed up for it. Even though we have history on the internet to follow.
He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah, if you look at the...
Years ago, the woke cult screamed, gatekeeping is wrong. Now they scream, we've always been here. Such as the case for The Boys. The woke didn't need to be let in. They were always there, and they've always been laughing at you. That's the new narrative. They were always there. So why were they screaming about gatekeeping? If you were already in, why were you complaining about gatekeeping? But let me get back on topic. Grums had this to say, I don't have sympathy for woke artists who are now upset that they can't get beautiful women characters they designed in the AAA games. You got what you asked for, and you got what you brigaded for. But this was the response that really got my attention. George said, We didn't ask for this, nor did we brigade for this. Stop demonizing us. There's already so much to unpack there. You didn't ask for it? Are you sure? Are you really, really sure? Not only am I terminally online, I'm a prick. See, what amazes me about this is that it's obvious that this is what you asked for. It's obvious that this is what you brigaded for, which I'm going to show you here in just a moment. And then they say, stop demonizing us. Oh, from the masters of persona non grata. Those who would cancel and ostracize and blacklist anybody who doesn't prostrate before them. Now, before I go in on that tweet, I'm going to give Jean the first crack at it. She's the reason I found this tweet, not to mention Jean oftentimes has very level-headed takes. She said, here's reality. Dissenters, like myself, a black woman in real life, warned of this for years. We weren't listened to. We were called pick-me's. We were called self-hating. Don't forget internalized misogyny, Jean. Men who sounded warnings were called sexist and accused of objectifying women. Oh, it goes even further than that, which I'm about ready to show. You see, as this gets revealed more and more, I'm sure we're going to move into another phase of gaslighting. The things you remember never happened. I have seen the woke clergy swear up and down that there's no such thing as woke. This never happened. That never happened. They really didn't even like Anita Sarkeesian. Oh, we never demanded that women in video games be made less attractive, in spite of our memories of the tweets of yesteryear screaming that video games create unrealistic standards and damage and harm real women. That never happened. So I suppose it's time for me to just get to my point. Well, let's go with something recent. Comic Book News showed these images that from the new Wolverine game coming out, and this is Jean Grey. Now look at that face. Really look at it. Shorten up that hair, put them in a button-up shirt, and zoom in on their face. You got a guy. But what is the response to people pointing out that this Jean Grey looks horrible? Oh no, Jean is ugly. Imagine dropping a game just because one side character isn't a lady that makes you want to play with one hand. This doesn't affect the story or the main character at all. Immediately, oh well, you want your characters to be attractive so you can jack off to them. People are obsessed with sex and jacking off. But this is a shaming tactic. This is tacit approval of making the females in games look that way. You bet your ass Wolverine's going to look good. He's going to be muscular. He's going to be handsome. He's going to drop them panties. But heaven fucking forbid Jean Grey, a redhead of course, look attractive. Another response. I'm really mad that I can't masturbate to a character in a video game that is years away from being complete. Well, first of all, good sir, you underestimate my power. I'm sorry, George. Are you sure? Are you sure you didn't ask for this? Are you sure that, and this is the important thing, is that George didn't say I, they said we. They are speaking for the group. We didn't ask for this, nor did we brigade for this. Then what do you call this then? I'm really mad I can't masturbate to a character. Now, I'm sure I've got a whole bunch of bookmarked responses to Stellar Blade of people losing their minds because this lady has titties on her. But an attractive female was so offensive, so triggering, that even in IGN, in the French branch, they insulted Stellar Blade director for choosing to create an attractive female protagonist. What they said is that whoever created her obviously has never seen a woman before. What the fuck does that even mean? No, seriously, they honestly think attractive women do not exist, and if they do exist, they're simply for the purposes of masturbation, apparently, because that's what they think everybody does when they see an attractive woman. It's like they got no self-control. You know, any wokies who are listening to this, it's entirely possible to see an attractive woman and simply appreciate how beautiful she is, how nice she is to look at. Doesn't necessarily mean you feel the need to sexually gratify yourself. If you do, you might want to seek help. So, are you sure that this isn't what the woke asked for? Are you sure this isn't what the woke brigaded for? Are you sure? Coming back to the tweet about Joanna Ironjaw Dark, one tweeter had this to say: yes, it was a decision to make the character look cool and not like AI pedo bait. That's right. If you don't like your women looking like Ivan Drago, you are a pedo. That's certainly not an attempt to start a brigade or slander somebody into silence, now is it? But they go on. V said, she looks like an average actress from 2010, 2022. And then, this is why this right every time, blah, 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 check mark about some kind of deviant sexual predilection. Another response is, oh, so you're a pedo. Now, this is just the wokest of all things. I think these people have caught COVID too many times. Unvaxxed, question mark. Man, I tell you, I would love to party with these guys. I bet they're a whole barrel of fun. I don't like calling people porn addicts over a game, but bro, I don't believe you've ever seen a woman in your life. Like, I'll put money on it. They're 50% of the population, you dumb fuck. How the hell do you not see a woman? And it'd be impossible to avoid. Why do female characters need to look good and pretty always? Can't women just exist? That's right. If you would rather the women in your video games not look like Nikocado Avocado, then you don't want women to exist. You want them all wiped out, apparently. That makes sense. I wish I had a greater point here. This all boils down pretty much to gaslighting. Or perhaps it's just simply straight up lying. Constantly telling you that something that you know is happening isn't happening. And then whenever proof positive comes out that it is happening, oh, well, we weren't behind it, or we didn't want to do it. Of course, the next phase is, yes, we did do it, and here's why it's a good thing. Or perhaps I'm being petty and I'm replying to this one tweet here. Quote, gaslighting is when you're not the person I made up in my head to get mad at. I just showed a whole bunch of tweets.
There is no way that LeBron will ever beat Jordan. Call me when LeBron has 6 championships.
Is that your only argument?
It's the only argument I need, Sean!
It's not just one person. And like I say here, the original tweet said we. To which, going back to George's tweet, we didn't ask for this. Maybe I'm being way too optimistic here, but I kind of think there's a changing coming in the wind. And so I think it's important to bookmark and screenshot things, because people are going to try to pretend like what we know is happening, what we've seen happened, what we remembered happened, didn't happen at all. I just want it recorded in history that these things happened. I don't want anybody to be able to deny that these things happened whenever the chickens come home to roost, because they will try to tell you that the things you remember didn't happen. They will try to tell you that the things that you see, you don't actually see. It's fucking insane. All right, anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I'm pretty much just making this for my own entertainment at this point. But as always, if you like what you heard, feel free to, subscribe or, leave me a comment, something for me to read, maybe constructive criticism, what have you. Anyway, this is Heretic Prince signing off.